it's leading to these conversations about people putting in letters. I wonder whether some of that is trying to pressure the Prime Minister, trying to get Number 10 to listen to backbench MPs, because there are occasions when, MPs will say, we've been telling the Prime Minister this, we've been warning about it, and he's not listening. And I think that sense of, the Prime Minister being in a bit of a bunker, people around him protecting him, and MPs not being able to meet to talk to him is one of the biggest issues.
At this Graham Brady meeting, some people saying this is unusual, that just the two of them met. It's similar to what happened with Graham Brady and Liz Truss when the game was up. Others, I spoke to someone this morning who said that the idea that this is under war was very silly. What's your reading of it?
I mean, Graham Brady he's called the man in a grey suit, isn't he? Or he's one of the men in grey suits that will come for a Prime Minister, tap them on the shoulder and tell them it's time to leave if and when that happens. I think the fact that they've met, it's a reason to raise your eyebrows.
Overnight, there was talk of eyebrows being raised, the mood changing. The political barometers flickering in some way, but in what direction? Things clearly not going very well for the government this morning, embroiled in a big row over a donor's racist comments. And according to one poll from Savanta, now back to where they were in popularity terms under Liz Truss. Also talk of a secret meeting happening between Rishi Sunak and Graham Brady, who chairs the 1922 committee. People even talking about letters going in. What is really going on? Times Radio's political editor, Kate McCann, is here to take the temperature. Kate, is everyone getting overexcited, or has there been a change in the mood?
I think there's definitely been a shift in the mood. I think it's less that Conservatives have suddenly realised that everything is awful. I think a lot of them realised that things were not very good for a while. I think what's actually happened is they've finally recognised that there isn't anybody coming to save them. And that's the big difference. I think that the fact that, Lee Anderson's defection, conversations about whether anybody else might follow, the fact that, this row over racist remarks from a donor, the way it's been handled, the fact that the Lee Anderson issue was handled in a very similar way, I think that's undermined confidence from Tory MPs in the way that Rishi Sunak's operation is running Number 10. And I think up until now, while they had recognised that things were difficult, they could probably excuse some of that with, we've been in government for 14 years. And I think a lot of them felt, well, if the economy turns, when the election happens, we'll have a strategy. We've got some really great people behind the scenes there. I think what they're seeing now is evidence that actually maybe that isn't what's happening. And that's causing some real concern. And, it's leading to these conversations about people putting in letters. I wonder whether some of that is trying to pressure the Prime Minister, trying to get Number 10 to listen to backbench MPs, because there are occasions when, MPs will say, we've been telling the Prime Minister this, we've been warning about it, and he's not listening. And I think that sense of, the Prime Minister being in a bit of a bunker, people around him protecting him, and MPs not being able to meet to talk to him is one of the biggest issues.
At this Graham Brady meeting, some people saying this is unusual, that just the two of them met. It's similar to what happened with Graham Brady and Liz Truss when the game was up. Others, I spoke to someone this morning who said that the idea that this is under war was very silly. What's your reading of it?
I mean, Graham Brady he's called the man in a grey suit, isn't he? Or he's one of the men in grey suits that will come for a Prime Minister, tap them on the shoulder and tell them it's time to leave if and when that happens. I think the fact that they've met, it's a reason to raise your eyebrows. It's not a reason to clutch your pearls and think that we are immediately heading for a leadership race. I suspect that conversation probably went along the lines of, Prime Minister, things are not looking great and there is a lot of frustration.
And he said, no kidding. Thanks for that, Graham.
But look, as I say, it's been obvious for a while that things have not been great. The polls show that. The fact that, Matt, the budget was a week ago. Yeah. And we have basically not seen a huge amount from either the Chancellor or the Prime Minister over the last couple of days. Usually they would be, hammering the messages from the budget. The child benefit changes, for example, will make a big difference to a lot of people. They've been pretty underserved. We've not heard a huge amount off the back of that. So there is this sense that the Prime Minister has sort of locked himself down a bit. But are we heading towards a leadership election? I mean, I just don't know anybody who genuinely thinks that would be the answer.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So eyebrows, yes, pearls, no. Eyebrows,
yes, pearls, no. Although, as we always say, but eyebrows, pearls, what's the sort of worst
next
case?
One? What? Pulling your hair out.
Oh, no, I was thinking an item of clothing. Maybe it's like a hat.
Trousers
hard
off.
Hard hat. No.
Hard. Tin hats on.
That's the difference between you and I, isn't it? You want to take your trousers off and I want to put a hat on. I think we end it there.
We should just talk about this the Frank Hester story, which clearly isn't going away. They took a very long time. They clearly sent out ministers saying, don't say it's racist. Then they came out this morning and said, you can say it's racist. And then giving it legs all over again, Kevin Hollinrake on the BBC this morning.
So let's just be absolutely clear. Yesterday, the Prime Minister said that this man's alleged comments were racist and wrong. And you say if this same man wanted to give another £10 million today to the Conservative Party, you'd take the money.
Yes, that's how I understand the situation, yes.
Not hugely helpful, is it?
No, and there's two things about this. The first is what he's literally just said, which is that we would accept further money from Frank Hester, which I think is problematic is an understatement. But the second is the way that he said it. So he said, that's my understanding of the situation. Yes, there's a reason why he's put it that way. It's because he doesn't know the answer, but also because he's worried that the answer might change. And when that happens, when you have ministers going out on the round in the morning, sent out by number 10 with a line to hold, and they are so worried that the line might change, they'll end up looking silly by the end of the day, that tells you how much the authority in that place has been undermined. It happened under Boris Johnson. It's usually not a good sign. It's a sign that things are on very shaky ground and that really there is a need to pull that back. We are about to go into Prime Minister's questions today, which will be a huge moment. I expect the party will still shout and holler for the Prime Minister like they do every week, but it'll be a test, and I'll be sat there looking to see what those faces look like on the backbenches.
Okay, good to see Kate McCann there, Times Radio's political editor, and we will bring you PMQs unpacked live at midday. But to see what Keir Starmer wants to ask about. Clearly, he's feeling pretty buoyed up right now. He's, 20, 25, 26, 27 points ahead in the polls. And he has a pretty good idea of who will be in his cabinet if he wins the general election. But could he consider looking outside the Labour Party to build a so-called government of all the talents? Could he even look as far as former Tory Prime Minister David Cameron? Could he keep him as Foreign Secretary? That's the radical suggestion of both the former Chancellor George Osborne and now Andy Coulson, who is David Cameron's Director of Communications.